This is Austin from the Austin Channel, and tonight we're reviewing The Birth of a Nation, starring Nate, written, directed, and acted by Nate Parker. Well, Birth of a Nation is in January of this year, premiered at the Sundance Film Festival, where it won the Grand Jury Prize for Best Drama. So this is a Sundance movie. The first, who knows? This is that I know off the top of my head. This is the first movie from this year's Sundance that I am reviewing. There may be more. There could be a second one if I were to review Patterson. No, wait. Patterson, I think is well. I don't know. I gotta look up Patterson with Mr. Adam Driver. I believe that too is a Sundance movie, and at Cannes, and again was premiering at this past week's New York Film Festival. So, but I'm getting off subject. So, The Birth of a Nation is tells the true story of Nat Turner, who led the historical slave rebellion in Virginia in 1831. Nate Parker plays Mr. Turner. Armie Hammer is his slave owner, Samuel Turner, and Jackie Earle Haley is the dastardly, slave catcher. I forget his name. Jackie Earle Haley is a great actor. He played his role well, but he's such a fucking douche. And okay, yes, there may be some spoilers in this review. I'll put it out there one time. So it tells a story. It starts in 1809, when Nat Turner is just a boy. And, I don't know the name of the young actor who plays 10-year-old Nat Turner, or the other actor kid who plays, 10-year-old Samuel Turner. But it's like they're the bestest of friends. And, it's like it's like young Sam has no, it's like he doesn't have that, really is aware of that ownership of slaves, or, the class thing between whites and blacks. It's like he's totally like, it's like they're the bestest of friends, and they're, there's no racial animosity between the two. But then if you fast forward to 20 years later, 1828, 1829, the Turner family, back to when Nat is a kid, he, one day sneaks off with this Bible off the porch, and sooner or later it's learned that, Mrs. Turner, played brilliantly by Penelope Ann Miller. Well, hell, it's been a long time since we've ever seen Penelope Ann Miller in a movie. Anybody who's familiar with Penelope Ann movie in Dead Bang, or Carlito's Way, or that one wild comedy she's known for, The Gun in Betty Lou's Handbag. And yeah, she was in The Messengers, where she played Kristen Stewart's mom. But, oh yeah, that's right. That's the last time I saw Penelope Ann Miller in a movie, The Messengers, which is, yeah, I admit, one of my not so favorite Kristen Stewart movies. So Penelope Ann Miller, like, oh, I'll help you to read. And funny, the first thing that young Nat grabs at are law books, and she tells him, like, oh, those are books that your poor Negro mind won't understand. And so, well, in this day and age, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, that don't understand legally. So in some way, maybe she did Nat a favor. So, So he reads the Bible and he grows up to preach among, among his fellow slaves. And he's, then they take notice of him. The corrupt, local pastor takes notice of him, like, oh, you got this nigger here that can preach. Maybe the slaves will understand him, and maybe these slave owners will pay you a price. And so, yeah, which of course by then, yeah, Nat grows up. The Turner family is going broke, and they're hard for money to the point where even Samuel Turner, now grown up to be played by grown up Samuel Turner, played by Armie Hammer, is marrying off his sister, and mom and sister's gonna live with the new husband, and he's gonna live in the long family owned plantation by himself. And here's so he's broke, so he basically is exploiting Nat, profiteer, yeah, exploiting Nat and basically profiteering off religion to save his plantation. And okay, yeah, also Samuel Turner is a raging alcoholic, and it gets worse. It gets worse. It even is to some point where Sam Turner pimps one of his female slaves to one of his neighbors. So it gets really bad, and Nat sees all these things and don't like it. He sees all the atrocities and abuses of other slaves on other plantations, and he doesn't like what he sees. And here you go, Jackie Earle Haley, who's a nemesis from the beginning of the movie, from the childhood, is takes Nat gets married, and one day she moves in. She's a slave. She's a slave on another plantation, and she's fetching water for her masters. And okay, yeah, Jackie Earle Haley and his goons gang up on Nat Turner's wife, and they rape her, beat her, and rape her. And it takes her a long time to recover. She doesn't recover till like after the rebellion, her husband's rebellion. And so there's but the straw that breaks Nat Turner's back, everything goes to shit when he baptizes a white man in the river on his slave owner's plantation, and Armie Hammer doesn't like it. He's like, you embarrassed me, blah blah blah, and they bullwhip him. Which, okay, yes, that's the things you do expect in a movie about, well, slavery. And then his grandma dies in shock, and that's the last of it. And he decides he's going to lead his known rebellion, and so you have slaves butchering their, running off and butchering their killing their, running away while killing their former slave owners in the process. And then in retaliation, you have bigoted whites who are just senselessly lynching blacks left and right. Enslaved or free, doesn't matter. They're just bloodthirsty because how dare these niggers rebel against us. So that's what goes on. And there's the big main confrontation scene in the town where you have the white vigilantes and the slaves are charging each other, and in that conflict, well, yeah, spoiler alert, Nate Parker kills Jackie Earle Haley. So in a way, he does avenge. So right there, he does avenge his wife. And okay, yeah, that's a spoiler. I'm sorry, that's a spoiler, but it isn't. I mean, okay, anybody who read about Nat Turner in the American history will know. Well, it doesn't. It's not all. It's not all riding off into the sunset type of ending. It's, well, Nat Turner is eventually hanged, and to even make it more macabre, is what the whites of that town did, is that they peeled his skin and used it to make relics. and they used his bones to melt it into, to make saddles for horses and that type of shit, because they did not want him to be a martyr. But there is one ending that is good about it, is that there's a boy who did kind of squealed on him, who, when he sees Nat getting hung, he's remorseful, he's sad, and then what we see through the camera trick is that they pull a close up on his eyes, and then they pull the camera away, and that he's a grown, bearded man in a Union Army uniform fighting the Civil War. And that was a good ending. And that's the part one of the parts I did like about, the ending of Birth of a Nation. Which I also like. It's called Birth of a Nation, which is like a fuck you to the D.W. Griffin 1915 silent film Birth of a Nation, which that film was, what we recall was, oh yes, the former black slaves, the black people were bad guys, and the Ku Klux Klan were the good guys. I like the title. It's just like a fuck you to D.W. Griffin. And of course Woodrow Wilson, who was the president at that time, that praised the movie. Well, what do you expect from the president? Well, what do you expect from the president who, moved Jim Crow into our nation's capital, and got us involved in World War I. So I don't know. Anyway, fuck D.W. Griffin, fuck Woodrow Wilson, I said it's a good movie. I don't understand why this movie is getting less than 6 out of 10 stars on IMDb. I think it's just, who knows, could be just pure bigotry, or, they think because, or maybe you just have some liberal idiots out, maybe not so much conservatives, but you just have some liberal idiots out there who think that, because we have a black president, racism should be over. We shouldn't have these movies that reminds us of these things. You know what? Fuck you too. So I personally call it a classic. It is 4 out of 4 stars, and I would like to see this movie be nominated for something, like for cinematography, if not the acting, cinematography, writing, something, even directing. So that's my review, and you have a good one.